All right. Are you ready to automate, delegate, and systemize your business? What's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maska, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous business. Today, we have with us Mike Abramowitz. Mike is the co-founder of Better Than Rich. He leads the GSD Intensives, which stands for Get Shit Done, where his 30-plus person plug-in team installs custom systems and AI-powered virtual assistant support for home service pros ready to get out of the weeds and off the tools. They streamline sales, referrals, and hiring without adding any more marketing spend or burying the owner in busy work. Mike also hosts the Better Than Rich show and runs the Automate, Delegate, Systemize community, where 1,000+ business owners get real-world tools to build a business that works without them. So that is Mike Abramowitz. Welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. What is going on today?
Thanks for having me, Paul. I'm looking forward to adding value and being an open book and supporting wherever I can.
Awesome. Well, excited to have you here. Automation, systems, processes, VAs, AI, all the things to get the owner out of the weeds, off the tools, have a business that runs without them. It's a daunting task. And sometimes there's a lot of bright, shiny objects that pull us in 100 different directions, but get us no closer to where we want to go. So how did your journey start? How did you get to where you are today with Better Than Rich and all the things you're doing for business owners?
Yeah, I'll do the long, short version just to give context, and then we could go in any direction that you see fit. Grew up in New Jersey. My dad owns a plumbing business. He's owned it for almost 50 years. So I watched him with grit, ambition, hard work, working 6 days a week, answering every single phone call. I admire how much he worked, but I wish he would have been more present for some basketball games growing up. But I left for college, got my engineering degree from the University of South Florida in Tampa. Paid my way through college selling Cutco kitchen knives. And when I graduated from college, I took a career position within Cutco in vector marketing and direct sales to teach other students how to do what I did. So I spent 20 years in direct sales with Vector and Cutco. And I personally trained over 5,000 other students to sell just under $20 million worth of product line. And I personally sold about $400,000 worth of Cutco through college myself and funded my education. So that's like my background as far as sales and business. The part of the story that's not as glamorous is I tried to get ahead because I saw what my dad did. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in my early 20s, and I bought my first house when I was 20, and I had 3 rental properties by the time I graduated college. So at 22, when I graduated college, I was like, I'm going to retire at 40. I'm going to do this whole I'm going to be this millionaire and all. So then 2008 hit and the market collapsed, and I was near bankrupt. I lost the properties. I was negative 130,000 in debt. With a 400 credit score. So I call it the valley of my 20s. So my sales business that I was running was all designed to help me just pay off my debts. And then I went to a Tony Robbins conference circa 2012, 2013. I learned my mess is my message. I walked across fire. I'm now a 7-time fire walker. And I wrote 9 books. I started a charity where we provided 100,000 meals to the less fortunate. The challenge was I had a glorified job. I was pulled in all these different directions. I had my sales business. I had the authors. I was the writing the books, the speaking, the nonprofit. And then I fell in love. And then I hired a business coach because there's no way I could be in a relationship and have all these different vehicles and all these different jobs and everything I was doing. That business coach helped me install systems into my business. He had an experience in India scaling a company from 6 million to 40 million. He had over 1,400 people underneath him, and he started teaching small business owners how to corporatize their business with automation, delegation, and systems. I installed that into my Cutco sales business. And then in 2020, when my son was born, the business was able to run without me while we went to the NICU, and we were in the ICU with him for 8.5 months because he was born premature. So all those systems, all the automation, all the delegation, offshore virtual assistants, all the things he taught me how to do allowed me to have that time freedom. My wife became a full-time medical mom, and I asked that coach, I said, do you want to partner up and teach other business owners how to buy back time? And he said, let's find out. That's the birthplace of Better Than Rich. We've now helped just between 270 and 290 business owners on how to buy back time and install predictability into their business. So that's like the birthplace of what I'm doing and how I got to where I'm at. And it's been pretty amazing, just the journey.
That is quite the journey. So, Cutco guy, have to give a shout out to John Ruhlin, who wrote the book Giftology. I'm sure you're very familiar with John Ruhlin. He's no longer with us, but he lives on in. If you guys haven't read the book Giftology, it's just a phenomenal book about relationship marketing and really just doing good things for other people. That's not self-focused. So, Cutco got you all the things here. Now you're helping business owners in the trades buy back their time, systems, processes. I work with business owners every day in the trades. One of the things I'm curious of your thoughts on is I hear this all the time of like, man, I need to get all my operations together and I don't have time for systems and processes. So I'm just going to go hire an operations manager, let them build it. Or I don't have time to like build out the service manager role. So I'm just going to hire someone with a bunch of experience and let them build it out. We bring those people on. We get super frustrated because they're not doing it the way we want it done, but we've never documented the way we want it done. And it's kind of this revolving cycle of like, I just got to find that person to do it instead of taking the time to build it. So it sounds like you're kind of solving that problem for them. You're doing it. But what is your take on that of, can we out hire this problem, or do we actually have to take the time or have someone like you take the time to put the systems in place?
The short answer is it depends. I know it's a shitty answer, but it's really true. Like Who Not How by Dan Sullivan is a really great book. There is a way to find a who is an expert at operations that we can plug into the business. The one caveat that's nuanced here is that they build out this operations that you might want, but two things happen. Number one, if you part ways with that operator, then who's really responsible for all those systems? Your entire success of your business is now resting on the shoulders of one key hire. That's a little scary. And then number two, that expert is also quite expensive, and it's hard to find that person because if they're going to be, upwards of six figures a year to be able to bring on this key hire to run those operations for you, it's not a sustainable solution for many companies. So what I like to do is I like to work with business owners to McDonaldify their business. So that way we could plug in doers. So instead of having the expert that has all the answers, let's simplify and systemize and create a predictable machine like McDonald's has, where we could plug in a little bit lower wage worker to be able to run the system, and they don't have to be as qualified. And then that could also be a little bit more budget friendly. And it's a little bit easier to replace those types of who's if one of those who's don't work out.
So let's go into that a little bit further. The next person, that person's then going to say, yeah, but now we're just turning them into robots, and they're not going to like their job because they're just a doer, they're just a robot. What do you tell that person?
I would push back. Just a robot. We still want them to have creative thinking. We want them to be able to be good at whatever we're hiring them to do. We just don't want them to do tasks that just tech or a virtual assistant can do. So let's actually give a real world example. If I used a plumbing company, I use my dad's own plumbing company. There's a lot of administrative that could get done by a robot. So why would we want a human, and why would we want to pay a human to waste their time and waste their company dollars and resources to do work that a robot can do? And we want the human to actually do the things that only that human is trained on. For example, if I hire someone to install the water heater and a robot can send the invoice and use a tech or a virtual assistant to schedule the appointment, schedule the follow-up, send marketing material in the follow-up, create a maintenance plan or a follow-up visit, or just all of those automations that could happen. A robot could do all that, but we need a human that's trained on how to just repair the hot water heater and let that person just be good at whatever we hired that person to do.
So you've mentioned virtual assistants a couple of times, and that's a great answer, because there is technology that can do a lot of the role, and then there's the roles that we need the human to do, whether it's the personality of a human or the technical skills of the human. We still need the humans. And when even for the hot water heater installer guy, if you want to call him that, right? The install team, the apprentice, they still have a set of standards to follow of this is how Mike's dad's plumbing company installs a hot water heater. This is how we pull a permit. This is how we greet the customer, right? So we're not turning them into a robot. We're then hiring them for personality and then training them how we do that here versus how other companies do it. Just like how McDonald's greets you is going to be different than how Chick-fil-A greets you. So love the answer. You've mentioned virtual assistants several times. I feel like this is a very very hot topic. Some people love them, swear by them, think they're the best thing ever. Some people hate them, had bad experience, never want to deal with them again. Some people are just skeptical and never use them. What are some really good things a virtual assistant can do? And what are some things that you recommend? And let's just go there first. What are some great things that virtual assistants can do for a home service company?
So first off, when I say virtual assistant, I'm saying a human. So it's a human who's offshore typically, or someone who's even, we have stateside. I have stateside virtual assistants. So it's just someone who's remote. So let's just make sure we're clear on definition, unless you're considering it something else.
No, we're good. No, so
Okay,
virtual
cool.
assistant is a human. It's different than technology. So
Yes,
it's someone
I
in
just
the
wanna make
Philippines, someone in Colombia, or someone in South Dakota.
Yeah, so we have a team of I have a team about 30 to 40 all across the world, Philippines, Latin America, India, Pakistan, all also in the stateside as well. So the benefits of a virtual assistant is pretty much any type of work that happens remote, inbox management, social media, video editing, graphic design, like any of these types of character traits. I mean, managing a CRM, a client database, all can happen virtually. You don't need an in-person human to do those things necessarily. So that's beneficial. The dollar goes a lot further in a lot of cases, and they love the flexibility that they can work from anywhere, and it's a lot more cost effective. So, I mean, I could list off exactly what my team does for me, but I mean, that'll take up the whole rest of the time. But I want to make sure that we actually give value and sustenance to speak to. But literally anything that happens in the digital realm, a virtual assistant can do. Making phone calls, scheduling appointments, reminders, managing the database, the data entry, bookkeeping. I mean, everything that happens on a computer screen or a phone can happen remote by a virtual assistant. The challenge is the owner doesn't know how to train that virtual assistant, or the owner has control issues and doesn't know how to let go of control, and they try to dump instead of delegate to those virtual assistants. So then they would just say it's just not worth my time. So that's why it's important to have someone that can support with that kind of play in that mediator between the owner and also the virtual assistant. That's kind of what we solve for. But
so yeah, let's dig into that, because that's where that was going to be my next question. Is there's probably plenty of people listening to this that have tried the virtual assistant to do the tasks that can be done remotely on a computer, on a phone, and it just hasn't worked out for them. You mentioned, one of the biggest challenges is managing that person, training that person, delegating properly, not just dumping stuff on them. Obviously, you guys solve that, but what are some of the biggest keys that you see in order to ensure those virtual assistants are set up for success, which then ensures the company is successful with this endeavor? What are some of the non-negotiables that we have to have in place when working with virtual assistants?
I break it down to 6 things. It's real simple. Try to make it as easy as possible. I call it the time-rich 6. Number 1, the owner needs to have boundaries. Boundaries of when, what is considered my priorities and what is important to me. And that has to be explicitly communicated. It's very important. And then number 2, under the boundaries is communication guidelines. We need to make sure the owner has explicit parameters on how that owner wants to get their attention. So what deems an email versus a phone call versus a text message versus an in-person meeting, right? The owner has to have communication guidelines with how people get their attention. Those are the first 2. These next 4 is really the answer to your question. Number 3 is systems. A system is a simple if-then process. The owner must have, if they want proper delegation, a simple if-then process for the client journey and the talent journey, for marketing to sales to onboarding to retention. All those if-thens, we want to know, it's like a flow chart. Build a flow chart. I would be happy to build a flow chart with any listener on the show for free. Book a call, hop on my calendar, betterthanrich.com/GSD. I will get a flow chart done with you. If you don't know how to build one, I will do it for you. I'll gladly do it for you. But that's number 3 is a system, a flow chart. Number 4 is playbooks. The SOPs that plug into that flow chart, the documentation of every one of those boxes in the flow chart. So there might be 100 SOPs inside of one flow chart, all of that documented. Technology makes it really easy to build that. I'd be happy to do that for someone listening as well for free. Then it goes into the team, which is the delegation, the who. Team is number 5. Who's executing those playbooks? That's the virtual assistant. So how do you have a virtual assistant have success? Because I'm plugging them into a system with playbooks, and then the team comes in to execute those plays. And then number 6 is technology. What is the technology that that team is doing and using? For us, we train every one of our virtual assistants on how to use AI. They know how to use a CRM or a project management software. So the Time Rich 6, boundaries, communication guidelines, systems, playbooks, team, and tech, in that order, that's what we like to work with business owners to create, to simplify the process, to create predictability. We want something that's long lasting. We want that owner to be able to step away like I did 8.5 months, and the business still did 7 figures in sales without me there. That's what we want to have in place for a business owner, where they don't have to answer every single phone call and have to take their business on vacation with them.
So that's super helpful. There's plenty of business owners listening to this. Like, Mike, that's great. I don't have time for that. Okay, boundaries make sense. Communication makes sense. Yep, got those. But now it comes time to start creating all these systems and playbooks and all that. And like, I don't have time for that. I'm running a couple $1 million company. I'm busy all day, grinding it out. How do you guys actually go do that for somebody, and how much participation? I know you said you make it easier for them and you're not taking up all their time, but how much involvement is needed from an owner when you're creating all these things?
For us, we've figured they're going to need to dedicate. That's why the priorities are important. As long as this is a priority to buy back their time, we have them come to Florida for a 2 to 3 days, and we designate an install event for that owner. So they don't, whether they do it with us or themselves, they got to have an immersive, let's set the foundation. And that way the foundation is laid, and then it's just like maintenance with weekly or monthly check-in type of conversations to make sure things are moving forward. But we got to have that foundation laid with some sort of immersive, let's build out those systems and those playbooks over the course of those 2 to 3 days. And another thing, Paul, we're only tackling one lead domino at a time. There's tons of areas of opportunity, but we want to figure out what is the one thing that can buy back 10 hours of the owner's time every week while increasing the revenue without spending more dollars. So we really have to figure out which is the system. Is it a sales process? Is it a client maximization or the lifetime value? Is it referral partnerships? Is it a referral process on pre-existing clients? Is it going to be onboarding new talent or new hires or like new technicians? Is it documenting all of the current processes that they have? Like, we have to figure out what is the one thing that really can grow the business while buying back that owner's time. For example, we just brought on a landscaper in Weatherford, Texas, did 4.7 million last year, and he still does all of his invoicing on pen and paper. He has no database, no systems, all word of mouth, zero marketing spend, and did $4.5 million last year. I'm like, what? And he said, but I'm waking up at 4 a.m. every day, and I'm in bed, and I'm still sending invoices out at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night. I can't sustain this anymore. I've been at it for 25 years. So for him, our lead domino is documenting all the processes, getting some tech solutions in, plugging some of those virtual assistants that use some of those tech solutions, and the systems that we're going to be building are going to be, it's pretty robust, but we're building most of that for him and with him, so he doesn't have to be involved. But he's going to come out with his partners for 2 days, and we're just going to make sure it's all fixed over those. He's not allowed to leave Florida until we finalize what the system is that he approves, and then he'll go back, and then our team will maintain it for him.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. So you're kind of doing if you want to call it, even from buyback your time, a time audit of what things taking up the most time for this owner. In your example, he spends a lot of his time sending out invoices because it's pen and paper, and there's no technology, there's no Java or service
and
type
creating designs, design blueprints and stuff. It's just wild. Driving to every job to make sure his team is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, what? Anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, so you do that, determine, hey, this is the biggest domino first. We're going to solve this problem. We're going to get 10 hours back of your time. You've done this for a lot of companies. You've done 270 to 290 companies or whatever you said at the beginning. Out of all that, looking at all the data that you have from all the clients you've worked with, what are the top 3 things that most owners spend the most time on that they shouldn't be spending any time on, or a lot less time on?
Yeah, one is anything that's in reaction mode. So too many owners are too accessible So they're spending time reacting to those phone calls. And that's why number 2 of communication guidelines is really important. So we want to build barriers to entry a little bit, meaning like we don't want to lose business by any means, but we do want to create a very personalized experience where sometimes we want that person, like that client, that referral, that hot lead, that's a $500,000 job. We want them to be able to get access to the owner. But the random looky-loo who might have saw something on Google should not really be able to get the owner's attention. So having some sort of barrier where the owner can mitigate reaction time on how people get their attention to their phone is one. One other one, I know we already alluded to it, but it's the control issues. It's like no one else can do it as good as me. And I know you mentioned buy back your time. It's like 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome. That's what Dan Martell says in his book. So what we got to do to let go of control is we like the 10-80-10 principle. The owner shows what it looks like. That first 10%, let someone else do the middle 80%, and then the owner checks the last 10%. A very simple structure of still having their hand in the cookie jar, but allowing them to mitigate and lower that middle part of the doing. So the owner's just doing the first 10 and the last 10 and buys back that middle 80%, letting go of some of that control. So that would be number 2. And if there was number 3, these owners, they have no idea on how to actually have a referral process, like how to get back in someone's like getting their attention again to ask for referrals. These warm, know, like, and trust leads are just sitting there waiting to be had. And for some of these owners, they're like, we don't need more business. We're already flourishing. We're max capacity as is. So we could still get these referrals. Like, I mean, why not? Like, you could sell them to another company, you could forge partnerships, or we could build another vertical, we could scale. I mean, I would always get referrals as many times as we possibly can. And that kind of ties into maximizing the lifetime value of a client, maintenance visits, and just providing great service and creating raving fans for your company. I think is a very big overlooked opportunity. Now, granted, that's coming from the sales guy with Cutco who built a $20 million empire all through word of mouth and very minimal spend. So obviously that's a little bit of a bias that I'm coming in from.
So let's go into that now. So we figured out how to buy back time for our listeners. And then another big thing that you just kind of alluded to is driving revenue without spending any more money on marketing or sales or anything else. And just leveraging our current database, whether it's getting them to spend more money with us, which means we're going to go see them more often, or we're going to leverage them to refer us to other people that are like them that probably need our service as well. What are some of the biggest, quick wins there for our listeners of, hey, we've got a database of 3,000 people. We own a HVAC and plumbing company. And once we do work for them, we kind of just forget about them and move on to the next one. What are some of the low-hanging fruit there that we can start to take advantage of? Immediately,
I would say if pick out the ones that spent the most with you. If they assuming they have that information, maybe it's 10%, and send them a copy paste text message that sounds something like, "Hey, this is Jim from HVAC. I just wanted to check in and see if everything's working okay." And I would just send it from my iPhone, really. Like, you could send it through a database, you could send it, but just re-engage and see how many respond. So if they have a $3,000 database, I would pick 10%, send them a text message, copy and paste. You could do it virtually. You could do it through CRM. You could do it all fancy, but I would just do it through a text, see how many respond. If they get 300 messages sent out and only 10% respond, that's another 10%. They got 30 responses of people that they have their attention. From those 30 people, just engage. I would lead with this. What is it that I can help them with? Do they need any help with any services? Like, hey, I'm glad you texted me. I actually needed this done, right? Do you have any referrals or a review or a rating that they can leave now that I have their attention? So again, referrals, reviews, ratings, these are opportunities. And then there's potential upsell opportunity. Just my immediate thought is connecting with your past clients, and send them a call. If you want to call them, you could text them. I just wouldn't do an email if I was going to do this as an example, because email is like, I would want to build an email campaign where we actually, are connecting with them and nurturing the relationship over the course of like a 12-month period. But if it was just, I got this re-engagement list, I'd like to reach out, top 10%, see how many respond, engage with those people, and see where the conversations unfold.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. It's so important because we're really just reminding them that we exist. Because a lot of times they forget about it, and like you said, a lot of times you just remind them that they have work that you can help solve. Oh yeah, I bought a faucet 4 weeks ago. I'm meaning to call you to get it installed. Or, oh, actually, my neighbor was asking for your information. I forgot what it was, so now I'm going to send it to you. Like, there's so many ways to then leverage that initial conversation, and we all know the open rate in text message is almost 100%. But like you said, even just doing an email campaign, 12-month campaign where you're just providing value either based on the seasonality or based on the equipment they bought or whatever it might be. Most companies don't provide value. Like we said, they're on to the next one, on to the next one. And before you know it, you're sitting there in this database of thousands of people that's worth a lot of money if we go digging in there. So as we start to kind of wrap this up, Mike, this has been super helpful from a time standpoint, money standpoint, leveraging what we've already got. We kind of talked about a little bit buying back your time. You're big into Dan Martell, buying back your time. We talked about some of the ways that you help your owners do that, looking at whether it's how people communicate to them and they're way too accessible and things like that. But leveraging that book to me is one of my favorite books because it's actually actionable. It's not just a theory book. He actually tells you like, hey, now do this. It's like a step-by-step guide. What are some of your most favorite hacks in there for our owners to start to buy back their time themselves?
Well, the first one is the replacement ladder that always comes to mind, which is what should I delegate first? And that's administrative, and then it's marketing and fulfillment, and then it's sales, and then it's leadership. So the replacement ladder is always a good one. So if an owner's listening to this and they're doing any type of admin, if you're not sure what administrative is, it's anything that is booking calls, invoicing, technology, like any of that should and ought to be offloaded. Why? Because you could pay someone under $25 an hour to do that for you. And then there's like the marketing and fulfillment. You usually can spend anywhere from $25 to $100 an hour having somebody else do that. And everyone listen to the show. If you're an owner, more than likely your hourly rate is probably upwards of $250 to $1,000 an hour. So doing some sort of understanding of what is your time worth, and then what are the activities that somebody else I can hire someone else to do, not so you could just make a sandwich, but so that way you could spend time on the highest leverage activity. So that leads into number 2, which is what is a high leverage activity for an owner? What if you took out your best clients, going back to that list, Paul, there's 3,000, whoever spent the most money lifetime with you, could you invite them to dinner? Could you pick their brain and ask them? Could you get testimonials from them? What if you took 5 people out to dinner because you bought back some of your time, or for a lunch, or for a beer at a Topgolf, and you got a video testimonial of them saying, wow, I loved my experience. It was the best experience. They're the best ones in town. I would never use anyone else. I highly recommend them. And now you have 5 people that just rant and rave about you. You blitz that out in emails and social media. You could use that and leverage that as an asset. There's so much possibility here is what I see for this type of person, if they can create some systems and predictability in the business with some of this stuff.
Yeah, I love the idea of taking them out to dinner, taking them out to lunch. It reminds me of The Pumpkin Plan. If anybody hasn't read The Pumpkin Plan by Mike McAllowitz, read it. But it talks about that. Mike talks about that extensively, of like when you take them out to lunch, ask them, why do you do business with us? What do you hate about our industry? And you're just getting all this knowledge to then go create a better messaging, better branding, better position in the market. You brought up a question in my head about kind of the administrative work, and we see this all the time in the trades. First, we're the technician. We're really good at it. Start to get too busy. We're tired of answering the phone in a crawl space or in an attic or on the truck. So we go hire somebody, a neighbor, a friend of a friend, an aunt, our spouse, to just answer the phone. And then it's just do the bookkeeping, and then it's just do the invoicing, and then just do the scheduling. And before we know it, we have this person who's doing a lot of things, but they're not doing really any of them well. And then they feel stuck. We're like, they've worked for me a long time and they're really good, but they're not serving the business anymore. They served the business 5 years ago when we just needed a human, which was better than nothing, because we were in a crawl space, or we were in an attic, or we were in the supply shop, or we were in a trench, whatever it might be. How do you help, or what is your recommendation for people to kind of get out of that? Because I see that all the time of they're stuck with this office person that they really don't want or need anymore, but they feel bad because that person was the first one with them.
By the way, loyalty, I'm all about it. I would just want that person, I would want to figure out their zone of genius. What are something that they're really, really good at? And how can I make sure that that's the only thing they do? And then I would give them a support team of that virtual assistants and the tools that we talked about. So that way, that office manager can just spend time in their zone of genius and the thing that moves the business forward. Like what is, for example, if that person's really good at phone calls, great, put them on follow-up calls. What if they called every single job that was installed and said, hey, we sent you a text message about giving us a rating and review. We didn't see it come through yet. Just want to see if you got that link. Great. If you want to do it right now, we'll give you $50 off your next visit as a coupon just to give us that review now. Like, and then that person's just in charge of collecting and creating new reviews and creating lifetime fans as an example. If they're good on the phones, if they're really good on the bookkeeping as an idea, great. Let them focus on the bookkeeping and support, give them support with these assistants that maybe can do the phone calls. So I would figure out what their zone of genius is, and then I would make sure that they stay in that role. Also make sure it's in activities that are going to move the business forward and create more revenue and buy back time from the owner, and then give them a supporting team and make sure that supporting team has access to some sort of technology, a CRM, a project management software, some sort of internal communication channel, something that allows them, especially AI, making sure that they're able to, use, leverage technology in a way, because I know you know this, Paul, but I want to make sure listeners know it. AI is moving so fast and so rapidly that it pretty much can do the work of 5 humans on a lot of these repetitive tasks. And it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in a lot of cases. So, however, it still needs to be managed by a human. So it's not to replace humans. It's just to make it even, I don't know the word, I'm losing the word right now, but it makes it that much more better, better. Let's call it. Can't think of the freaking word. But,
Makes it more better.
Better. There you go.
We always love things that are more
Makes
better.
it more better than rich, right?
Love it. But yeah, and it is, that person is valuable in the right role because that person probably knows more about the business than anybody but the owner. They've got the experience. They know the customers. They know the people. But a lot of times they're just not good at what they do. And a lot of times they don't like it anymore. They're like, this was fine when I did it for 2 hours a week, but now when I do it for 10, I don't really enjoy it. So super helpful insight in there, putting the right people on the bus, right seat, all that stuff. As we begin to wrap this up, Mike, we like our listeners to take action here. We could give them a whole bunch of different things to do. They're probably not going to do most of them because they're busy. What's one thing they can do within the next 24 hours to just start to move the needle a little bit forward?
Simplest one, hack from buy back your time, camcorder method. I would take your cell phone and I would download an app called Loom, Loom. If you haven't used it, download the app and then record yourself doing something, maybe everything, but something that you just know in the back of your mind somebody else can do. I don't know what that thing is, but record yourself doing it on your phone. Maybe it's invoicing, maybe it's answering, maybe if you're on the phone, maybe you can't answer a call, but bring your laptop with you if you want. But just document, take a recording of you doing something. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's like you're actually installing the ductwork, or you want doing the actual install of some sort of project. Have someone hold the camera, record yourself doing it. And here's what I love about Loom. It will create the SOP for you. So it will take the video and then it will write the document of the SOP of exactly what you did in the video. So now you have a video and you have a documentation of the process. You just check 2 boxes of the Time Rich 6, which is the system and the playbook, all done. So you can easily pass that to the next person and say, study this, watch this, and now you could plug in team to do that one activity that you just recorded. And the more you can get into the habit of doing stuff like that, that's real delegation, because that way they can model the process that you already know, the process that you know and the process that you like, and somebody else can run with it by modeling what you've already built. That would be my answer. Yeah.
Great answer. And I agree 100%. A lot of times everybody thinks, oh, I'm not ready to do that, or I got to make it fancy. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be functional. If you're doing stuff in the field, get out your iPhone, hit record. You got a video of how to do it. People can watch it. Like you said, Loom or any other AI now can just write out what it actually said and what the steps are. And before you know it, you've built an entire playbook of how to do whatever job it is that you're doing. Mike Abramowitz, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your journey, being vulnerable, and providing a ton of actionable advice and insight for all the blue-collar business owners out there as we continue our journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, though, Mike, where can listeners go to keep in touch with you, claim those offers you were throwing out there earlier in the show, and get connected?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Betterthanrich.com/GSD, like get shit done. Betterthanrich.com/GSD. It'll take you to a no BS call. 30 minutes, no BS, no pitch. It's just going to build 4 systems for you that is just done for you. And we'll do this for anyone that is in the services. Doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Our main focus is working with, more like 7-figure business owners. But if you're just starting out and you want some things done, I would be glad to help you and get these built. So betterthanrich.com/GSD, and we'll build out 4 systems for you. 12-month lead nurture campaign done for you, a full avatar tone and brand guide done for you, a proposal and invoicing system done for you. And then if you want like a sales process or referral partner system or a talent onboarding system and maximization of your LTV, all done for you. 4 systems. I promise you will get tremendous value from seeing what it looks like to document. And these are custom to your business, I want to say. Custom to your business. betterthanrich.com/GSD. No vanilla over here. All customized for you. You'll see how amazing technology is these days.
Awesome. There you guys have it. betterthanrich.com/GSD. Go there, sign up, take advantage of the free offering that Mike is providing. Mike, thanks again for coming to the show today. Super appreciate your time.
Thank you.